Good afternoon. My name is Cheo Tyehimba Taylor. I'm a filmmaker, artist, writer, and founder of Game Changers Films. And I'm here today it's the second weekend of East Bay Open Studios. And I'm here in this beautiful gallery that features the work of John Sheridan, a sculpturist, and my man here, Damon Powell, who is a painter, artist. We're going to get into all of the different titles that you have, but this is some of the work that we have, your work here behind us. So, I know you. We're not going to be that formal.
Okay.
I want to ask you about, you have a title that's really unique, I think, in the art world: artist and theologian. Artist and theologian. Can you talk a little bit about what that means to you?
Yes, I can. I have a formal PhD in theology and art, particularly African American art, aesthetics, religion. And what I do is try to infuse that spirituality into my painting, into my creativity. So I do my theological work not just through writing and journaling and papers like most theologians do, but through the visual means. So I believe that in order to get a point across the most effectively, you have an image and then you have the prose to support it. And therefore, I try to put those two together. So everything that I do is based in some type of theological premise, my understanding of the divine, of spirit. And I try to infuse that into my work and then develop my theology based around that. So I'm actually working out my own theological system and understanding through the visual aspects of my work.
Okay, very, very unique. I mean, I think we've talked about this even before. I know you gave me some questions, but I'm gonna go off script on a couple things. The whole concept of an artist explicitly embracing theology, explicitly embracing man's idea of spirit and searching for spirit. How did that actually? What is the genesis for that for you?
Well, it started really quite a while ago. Actually, it started in the 90s and it's just been developing. I completed my Master's of Divinity and I went into pastoral ministry. I was pastoring and I wanted to explore the connections more between my being as an artist, which is how I started off before I was called into ministry, and my understanding of spirituality and how did those connect. And so I had done a couple of papers when I was getting my MDiv around this, and some of my instructors were really like, you should pursue this. You need to look into this further. I think you have the meanings of something, but I wasn't sure how it all fit together. So I finally figured out enough to submit a proposal to go get my PhD. That's how I came out here to California to do my doctoral work, and I wrote my own degree program and got that, but I was still figuring out the process and making these connections between our experience of the beautiful, of the aesthetic, and how that relates to our understanding of the divine, of spirituality. And so as I was studying that, it began to come together and come together. And finally, even after I completed my doctoral work, I was still trying to figure out exactly how this was going to work, what it was going to look like. And that's when I developed my mission statement, which is to give divine light form and express the myriad ways that spirit interacts with our world. And I think that's overall what I try to do with everything that I do. And that is my guiding raison d'etre, for lack of a better term, for my work.
That's your calling.
Yes,
clearly.
it is.
Yeah. So I see that you have two different series of works that are kind of converging on the walls behind us. Can you explain the different versions of work that you have and kind of talk me through that?
Yes, I'm going to do some self-promotion first. The works on this side all come from a series I've completed on the chakras. It probably took me about a year and a half to complete that series. And so with each work, I was exploring that particular chakra and the aspects of that chakra. And it really involved a lot of soul searching, a lot of energetic work on my part to develop that series. And I actually just recently turned those into a book called Exploring the Chakras. I've written and illustrated this book. It's my second written and illustrated book. And so I began to do some real work in depth on the chakras and looking at what they mean, how they interact, and what their purpose is in our spiritual anatomy, for lack of a better term. This series over here is a work series that I did on yoga. It's a combination of works. I had 8 works that I did in acrylic large formats, as you see here, and I have 15 of these smaller works that I created on yoga. I've been doing yoga on and off for about 12 years. I really wanted to try to express the spiritual connection that I find between the movement of the body and between artistic experience and our connection to the spiritual. So these are exploring that. Each of these has a symbol along with the pose. The symbol is a reminder to bring us back to the spirit. It's body and spirit. Yoga is not just a physical workout. It's a spiritual system that, if engaged in, can help you to better your life and grow spiritually as a person. So I wanted to remind folks of that with the symbol to bring us back to spirit. And so that's what I'm doing with these two series.
Wow. So we're talking about years, decades of experience, personal experience in your own practice, and then turning that into these art forms.
Yes, and actually, I just recently became a yoga teacher in August, and I wouldn't have done that if it hadn't been for working on these series. I've kind of been going back and forth for a couple of years now, and I finally decided when I was completing this series that, you know what, it's time. So I'm actually a registered yoga teacher.
Okay, congratulations on that. You know, I think you had some lessons I've heard of that were pretty good, but let me stay on point.
Absolutely.
So your work is often filled with vibrant colors, and we can just see that here. You know, what's the significance in your color palette?
My color palette, what I'm trying to do is express the spiritual. And I believe if you read different accounts from people who have had extreme visions, near-death experiences, even people who have had any type of visions, things like that, the colors and what they see is out of the ordinary. They're things that we would not see. They're more vibrant. They have much more character than we would see in our ordinary day life. And so I want to portray that through my works by making colors that are very bright, very vivid, to express that more, hopefully express that more spiritual aspect, as if you were looking at something ethereally. If you were looking at an image maybe from, you know, people talk about they use psychedelics, other things, and how vivid things are.
Yeah.
So that's the purpose of me using the colors. And then also there's a spirituality associated with certain colors, depending on what religious tradition you're looking at. Even in New Age thought. So like here, the deep purple is always associated with high levels of spirituality. And so a lot of times the colors are also symbolic for what I'm trying to express. If you know the symbolism, then you get more depth from the image.
Right. It's just pretty much kind of like with any image in a gallery, you bring to it whatever you bring to it, and then it means even more to you based on what you come with. So
exactly.
Yeah. I feel like we can walk around. Maybe we'll have to walk around or have some, you know, tighter shots so people can really take in some of this work. Because the color, specifically even on this one over here, the orange, the terracotta, the yellows are just really brilliant. That leads me to your creative process. When you talk about, you know, your creative process, I've seen a little of it because I know we shared an artist studio a few years back, but I want to hear from you. Like, what is your creative process?
My creative process is basically, it starts with the internal work, and that's where it starts. A lot of people want to start with sketching and doing other things. I don't do any of that until I've done the internal work. So basically, I'll be reading sacred texts, things like that, listening to sacred podcasts, things of that nature, and a concept or an idea will come into my mind. And then I'll say, okay, well, how would that look visually? For instance, love, just at a broad level. You could spend your whole life trying to express what love looks like visually, and it would change all the time. And so I begin with this inner work, and then I begin to meditate and pray on that. And from there, I begin to develop sketches based upon what I'm feeling and trying to express internally. Then every time that I sit down to work, I meditate for 10 minutes before I begin to actually paint or do any other work. And I'm hoping to infuse that feeling of integration, high vibration into the works that I create. I have had people say that they felt like things jumped out that they felt an increase in their energy when looking at some of the work. So that's what I'm trying to do, is really create high vibrational art that touches not just the eyes but the spirit.
Yeah, I think you're doing a really good job at that. More about the creative process though, because you're working in watercolor, oil. Like I'm not a painter, so like, is it oil or?
I primarily consider myself a watercolorist. That has been what I've done for the longest amount of time, the majority of my career, but I've been expanding into acrylic. So this piece here is a watercolor mixed media. Some of these other ones are acrylic. So I'm getting more, what do we want to say? I'm getting more facile with the acrylics. I still prefer the watercolor, but I go back and forth. For me, I let the image dictate what medium I use. I don't have a plan at first. Sometimes, most of these series, I didn't even know they were a series. I'd get an internal impression, intuition for an image. I create that image. Then a couple of weeks, I get another one. Then when I usually get to about 3, now I can tell, oh, this is going to be something that's going somewhere. So I just follow that string until I feel like Spirit has said, this is enough. We're done. And so the image dictates what medium I think will best work with that.
Yeah.
And so it goes back and forth. Lately, it's been more acrylics, but I'm hoping to go back to watercolor. I actually have an idea for an image that I think watercolor is going to work with. Spirit's been working with me on some stuff around the auric field that I want to explore more. So
I know as a filmmaker, even though I'm a director and writer and producer, but I work with enough cinematographers and directors of photography and even still photography artists who have really made me understand the power of light, being drenched in light or the absence of light or any different shades of light. Light has so much power in film, but I'm asking you, I'm curious how you configure light when you've already gotten to the sketch stage and now you're about to move into the painting. How are you thinking about light?
That's interesting that you say that, because when you started talking about light, I'm thinking more metaphysically. And you're thinking more practically. But light is a metaphysical thing.
Yeah.
For millions of years, we've had different cultures that have revered the sun. Some people thought they were actually worshiping the sun. That really isn't correct, but revered the sun and the power of light, both internally and externally. So I'm very much aware of that in my work and try to infuse a sense of light and internal light, as I said, higher vibration, that light, but also just in terms of creating a more dramatic effect within the figure. I try to kind of press the edges with light and try to make some of the lighting situations a little bit more dramatic.
Yeah.
So that's what I really try to do. Composition is important for me, the way things move and flow throughout the image, but then the light would be the next thing. So really getting a sense of that and creating a fullness, but I like to get a nice contrast. You can see in my work, a lot of it, even though some of it's not black and white, there's still probably a good amount of contrast.
Okay. So do you accept commissions? How does that work, if you do, or talk about that?
I don't accept commissions because I used to do a lot of commercial stuff. My background is I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in illustration and design. I did a lot of that for years and I just was not satisfied. People said they wanted blue. I'm a professional. If I thought should be blue, I would make it blue. So now I don't do commissions. However, I do first right to purchase. So if you say you're interested in something, then what I will do is to take your information, and the next couple of works that I complete, you are the first person who can view them and decide if you want to purchase. If you do, then it is yours. If you don't, then after 2 or 3, we probably need to just move on. Okay. But I wouldn't say I absolutely wouldn't, but probably.
The price was right, possibly.
I would consider it if the price was right, but probably not. I really just am trying to be more intuitive and doing what Spirit has directed me to do.
Right. So, well, how would folks out here get in touch with you?
The best thing to do, I respond most promptly to email. I know everybody wants to text, but I'm really more of an email person. So the best thing to do would be to email me at info at damonpowell.com and go to my website, damonpowell.com. It's very simple. There's a way you can contact me through the website. I have images and prints available for sale. If you're interested in an original, then you would need to email me directly to find out if it's available, and then I can give you the price. I don't negotiate the prices per se. I do actually have prices, dedicated prices. You can probably get a discount depending on what we're discussing, but the price is not arbitrary based upon who's calling. Everything is done evenly.
And so, is it December 13th? Yeah, today's December 13th, right?
Yes.
So how long is your work here going to be at East Bay Open Studios?
We're going to be here through the month. John and I are here through the month. Definitely come through and check us out. Fridays from 12 to 5, John is here. Sometimes I'm here. Every weekend the rest of this month, we will be here Saturdays and Sundays from 11 to 5. Please come on through. And if you want something during the week, we can arrange something by appointment. So you would need to text or email me, info@damonpowell.com, or you can text me at 510-992-3737.
All right. I would encourage everybody to come through East Bay Open Studios. This place is full of a lot of light. So Damon Powell, artist and theologian. Good to see you always.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.